Fala galera, beleza? Tudo de boa com vocês? Aqui quem fala é o Rafa Gamer, fazendo aqui mais um gameplay. E galera, trazendo aqui pra vocês um jogo que foi lançado aí recentemente. É dos mesmos criadores aí do Stanley, que é um jogo bem filosófico, cara. Que você vai andando pelo cenário e tem um narrador, né, que vai contando pra você toda a mensagem que o jogo quer passar. E esse aqui parece também ser muito interessante. E cara, o jogo assim é muito massa, cara. Esses jogos assim que tem uma mensagem por trás é muito massa. Então vamos lá, galera. Eu consegui deixar só em espanhol aqui pra vocês. Não tem em português. E eu vou jogar em espanhol mesmo, cara. Porque é a única forma que dá pra entender de forma mais... fácil, né? Então vamos lá, galera. Eu vou começar aqui um novo jogo e vamos nessa. Vamos lá.
Thank you very much for playing the Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Wreden. I wrote the Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
Bom, galera, aquele jogo lá ele fez pela primeira vez, né? Uma fase de CS. O cara falou aqui que achava muito interessante porque pelo jogo conseguia identificar quem fez, né? Quem produziu, identificar a pessoa que fez, né? Opa! Marcado agora.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
O cara fez um jogo que não tem som, cara. Então, cara, o jogo aqui se trata de parece que se trata de um amigo de esse tal de Coda, né? Que esse Coda aí fez alguns jogos e esse cara vai analisar todos os jogos falando um pouco da personalidade do cara, né? Então, interessante que só, cara. Né? Então vai ser analisada a personalidade do cara aí pra ver por que ele criava esses jogos tão estranhos, né? Essa arma aqui acabou a munição e não dá pra carregar nem fazer nada.
Security call breached. Hostile alien life form inbound.
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force
A gente tem que falar dos jogos aqui pelo que são, né? E não pelo que deveriam ser. Então não pode criticar, né?
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
Realmente ficou massa, dá pra ver o universo. Cara, tem um caminho aqui. Não, tá?
Apparently this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
Labirinto, mano. O cara pulou o labirinto.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Tem uma máquina de sussurros ativada, sei lá. Tá em espanhol, né, galera? Espero que você esteja tentando aí ler as legendas, né? Porque eu tô tentando ler as legendas, né? Em espanhol mesmo, porque não tem outro jeito.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all.
Ei, você que está
That
nessa
beam
máquina
is
de
powering a
ajudar.
whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing
Esse rádio está
a
alimentando a
break-in
máquina
at
de
heat
sussurros.
signature.
Podemos entender.
If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Cara, essa voz aí mandou me matar ali naquele raio, em prol da humanidade. Então vamos lá, né, cara? A gente é fodão mesmo. Morri?
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
Então... Ele falou que quando vai se fazer mesmo de compilar o jogo, se eu for lá de novo vai acontecer algo diferente. Então deixa eu ver. Opa. Ih, mano. Tô subindo, velho.
The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it. Like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
Nossa, cara, tem muita filosofia mesmo, velho. Ok. O cara não tá andando. Mais um jogo aqui que apareceu. Tem como consigo andar. Uma coisa aqui. O passado estava atrás dela.
So try walking backwards.
Tem que andar pra trás? Nossa!
Yep. In this game, you can only walk backwards.
Ah, cara, só dá pra andar pra trás, velho. Que coisa estranha.
So it's a short and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Code is trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
Porém, o futuro não se podia ver, cara. Nossa, velho, muito massa, mano. Não deixe de mudar. Porque o futuro não deixa de mudar. Cara, a gente anda meio que de costas mesmo, né? A gente não sabe o que vai acontecer, né? Nossa, velho, muito bom. Pera aí. Quando para e olha, tudo está claro. Ai, caralho. Porém, se o futuro sempre está atrás dela, como encontrará a força?
It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
Cara, um joguinho curto, né? Mas transmitiu uma mensagem de forma legal, né? Que isso aqui, né? Jogo de terror agora. Tem 2 caminhos. Só tem pra frente. Agora está em também.
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting.
Acabou o jogo, mano. Mas ele disse que eu tenho que guardar esse jogo na memória aqui, porque ele vai voltar aqui ainda, parece.
Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games. I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
O nome dessa fase aqui parece que é confusões em todas as direções, sei lá. Tem uma escada bem grande aqui. Cara, eu tô parando, velho.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
Nossa, velho. Chega um momento que a gente vai subir a escada e fica lento, a gente tem que se esforçar mais pra subir. Como se fosse a escada da vida, né, cara? E só apertar enter e volta ao normal, entende? Se fosse assim na vida mesmo, né, cara? Apareceu um monte de mensagens aqui, mano.
A room that's warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games. Coda would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
Cara, tá falando aqui um pouquinho da personalidade do cara, né? Que ele podia ser um cara bem solitário, mas ele era alegre, né, mano? Mas é muito difícil a pessoa ver como a pessoa realmente é. Demora muito, né? Preparados. Pescar, sei lá.
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it.
Ah, é um puzzle. Ih. Não tem nada aqui. Será que eu tenho que fechar e ficar lá dentro? Hein? É, não entro nessa porta. Ah, velho, tá aqui.
Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're gonna see it a lot.
É, diz pra não esquecer esse tipo de puzzle aí, que eu sempre vou usar ele durante muitas vezes. Né?
So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve the puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. Alright, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Nossa, ele disse que se eu apertar enter, vai sumir todas as paredes, vão se mover. Nossa, sumiu.
How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
É, cara, tá dizendo aqui que a fase depois da escada, né, que a gente pensava que era só aquilo ali, a gente acabou chegando num ambiente, né, bem maior, né, cara. Mesma fase de novo.
Aha! So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
Isso tudo aqui se passa em 2009, né? Nossa, eu cheguei num lugar desértico.
let's talk about video game development for a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development.
Tá falando da engine do jogo. Tá falando aqui da engine gráfica do jogo.
To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source.
Ah, tá usando
Like all
Source.
engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well.
Mano, ele falou aqui que a engine
The
Source,
tools
né?
available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games, to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
Ele tá falando aqui que a engine Source é boa em se fazer corredores, né? Quadrados, né? Aquelas coisas, né? Que a gente vê até no CS, né? Que é a mesma engine que utiliza. Aqui. Tem uns quadros ali. Quadros ali de umas pessoas na cidade. Tem nada aqui no banheiro. Uma escada aqui para baixo. Bom, galera, eu vou descer essa escada aqui no próximo vídeo, beleza? Porque tá ficando bem longo aqui esse vídeo. Mas, cara, o jogo é muito interessante aí, muita mensagem mesmo. Eu espero que vocês estejam conseguindo ler as legendas em espanhol aí. Tô conseguindo ler mais ou menos, né? Melhor do que em inglês, né, cara? Porque em inglês não é todo mundo que sabe ler inglês. Mas enfim, espero que vocês tenham gostado aí. Até o próximo vídeo. Falou, galera. Até mais.